Welcome to Lecture 5, University Utara Malaysia students. I'm Dr. Jabbar Al-Maliki, and today we are looking at security in cyberspace. Cybersecurity is frequently treated as a technical implementation of firewalls and encryption. However, true security requires an intentional balance of technical architecture, ethical responsibility, and strategic risk management. Every secure protocol is built upon a primary axiom known as the CIA triad. The first pillar is confidentiality. This ensures that data is protected against unauthorized access, keeping sensitive information visible only to those with explicit permission. The second pillar is integrity. This maintains the accuracy and consistency of data over its entire lifecycle, preventing unauthorized alteration or corruption. The final pillar is availability. For a system to be secure, it must remain functional. The architecture must ensure that legitimate users have reliable access to the data they need. When these three pillars are not balanced, the trust required to operate digital architecture fails. While securing a single, isolated node is often straightforward, modern digital infrastructure lives on sprawling, highly interconnected network topologies. We manage these expansive grids by mapping security into three distinct domains: endpoint security, network security, and application security. Each domain requires specific operational controls. A security protocol designed for endpoint hardware cannot address the threats targeted at a routing protocol or a software application. Cloud computing centralizes these architectural domains into a single managed environment. This centralization relies on multi-tenancy, where multiple distinct client systems share the exact same physical infrastructure. Because different users' data sits on the same physical disks, the risk of data leakage and unauthorized cross-access increases. This structural reality leads to the shared responsibility model. We see the consequences of this model when an AWS storage bucket is misconfigured, exposing sensitive information to the public internet. This raises the question of liability. Does the fault lie with the cloud provider for the infrastructure, or with the user who failed to secure their specific configuration? Moving infrastructure to the cloud complicates the ethical boundaries of negligence and the strict accountability of the system engineers involved. To stress test these architectures, we must account for the human adversary, the hacker. Hacking is a technical methodology. Its ethical standing is determined by authorization and intent, which can be mapped across a spectrum. On one end is the white hat classification. These practitioners conduct authorized security testing to find vulnerabilities and improve resilience. On the opposite end are black hat actors. They operate with malicious intent, seeking unauthorized access for exploitation or theft. The gray hat hacker operates in the space between these two extremes. Gray hats typically lack formal authorization to breach a system, but they generally do not intend to destroy or steal the data they find. This leads to our class case study. Is ethical hacking justified if it successfully exposes critical system weaknesses, but is conducted entirely without permission? Analyze this by comparing strict legal compliance against utilitarian frameworks that prioritize the security outcome. Technical skill is only as reliable as the ethical framework guiding it. Intent is a critical component of cybersecurity. When we scale these isolated breaches up to a massive global level, we encounter severe threats against overall national security. Cyberterrorism involves the use of digital attacks to inflict systemic damage, cripple critical systems, and create public fear. These operations target critical infrastructure, such as national power grids and financial institutions. This is demonstrated when ransomware attacks paralyze hospital networks, locking down patient records and life-saving systems. In these scenarios, abstract data loss translates directly into physical harm to human life. The second macro threat is information warfare. This involves the use of cyber networks for psychological operations and the coordinated spread of disinformation. We see this through election interference, where fabricated news is spread rapidly to destabilize public trust. These operations are designed to manipulate public perception and weaken the foundations of democratic systems. Today, global-scale cyber operations function as devastating kinetic weapons, directly threatening civilian stability and the established world order. How can computer scientists systematically quantify and mitigate these diverse threats? Engineers use this formal risk analysis calculus to evaluate the security of a system. First, we identify the threat, the adversary or malware variant likely to target the system. Second, we evaluate the vulnerability, such as a misconfigured cloud storage bucket or an unpatched software flaw. Finally, we assess the impact, determining the severity of the consequences should the attack succeed. The mathematics of this calculus are unforgiving. Because the variables are multiplicative, failing to account for even one vulnerability scales the total risk across the entire system. This makes risk assessment a core professional duty. When a designer possesses the tools to quantify a threat to public safety, but fails to apply them, they are abdicating their responsibility as an engineer. As UUM students, your role is to design systems that use this calculus to protect the public from real-world harm. Cybersecurity is not a static goal, but a continuous practice of architectural rigor, mathematical analysis, and ethical duty.